back to No Wave Too Small, SoCal Surf. Today, surf was good. It wasn't as smooth as I thought it was going to be, but we got there and there was nobody in the water. Wasn't crowded at all, catching waves left and right, just doing great stuff. We checked out Huntington first, but it was not very good. I mean, just shore break. It would break outside and then just fizzle. Just, have like 2-second ride and then it'd end. So Huntington has been consistently not good when we've been going. So we tried down by Newport today, and like I said, nobody there. Waves were about waist high. Occasionally a shoulder high set would come in, and I managed to catch a couple of those. So pretty happy about that. Got a good left. Came off the bottom and then just had to step on the gas to get going because it was a fast wave and had to zip on down the line and made it to the end. Didn't have to crash or wipe out, so just pulled out of it and paddled back out. Luckily the paddle out wasn't bad. The water was cold still, and the sun was not out, so it's cold, and that's why the crowds are smaller. But about 8:30 people started to show up. And by 9 o'clock, there was too many people again. So, people go later in the winter because it's not, the sun starts coming out. So they plan on going later to be warmer. So the early is better if you don't want crowds, but it's colder. So towards the beginning, we were taking waves left and right and not really wiping out all that much. Most of the waves I just pulled out of. But there was one that I went right on and did a nice bottom turn and came off the bottom up to the top and peeled off perfectly again. Then I did another bottom turn, and as I came back up to make my turn off the top, the wave had broke a little earlier than I anticipated, and I hit that top, and that wave just pushed the surfboard right straight out from underneath me, and it went flying straight out to the length of the leash as I fell back into the wave. And I fell kind of off the back, so I didn't get tumbled, but the board went shooting out. Then it got pulled. I pulled a little bit on my leg as it got caught in the whitewash. And then I just pulled it back and paddled out, no problem. But that was about the only time that really wiped out. The rest I just pulled out of and, just pulled left or right or just jumped off towards the end. Caught one wave that took me all the way in. It was really white water, but I just kept riding it and going left and doing little tiny itty-bitty turns on it. And then as I looked up, the sand was coming up really fast, and the wave was still pushing pretty hard. I thought that was pretty interesting. So I kept going, and pretty soon I ran out of water, and I turned hard and just kind of squatted down and let the board settle. And I stood up, and I was in the water was probably between my knee and my ankle. So it was really shallow. Then I walked back out, till it got about waist high, and then paddled. Again, not very difficult paddle today, pretty easy. So just really liking the 7-foot board I've been using lately. I call it my Newport board because it's a little bigger and it's easier to catch waves on. My 6-footer I use at Huntington because I get deeper on the duck dives, so I usually use the 6-footer at Huntington. So and the 7-footer at Newport, but I'm liking the 7-footer so much I'm going to try it at Huntington next time. Whenever it comes back, I don't know what's going on, but every time the waves start to get good and the tide is right, it rains or the wind is blowing or something's going on and we don't get to surf there again. So it's been really weird that we haven't been able to surf at Huntington over the last little while. That's usually where we surf. That's probably 80-90% of the time. In the last 2 months, it's been 80-90% of Newport, which has just been strange because Newport is usually way too small to surf. It's a great place for beginners, I mentioned before, but when you start when your surfing starts to get better and you want to make more maneuvers, you need a little more power in the wave to do that. And Newport normally doesn't have it. But like I said, it's been a strange year that we've been going to Newport every day. And the crowds are heavier there, and the takeoff area is smaller, so you have a little more density than you do at Huntington. But Huntington, if you have a lot of people in the water, they're coming from a further away, but their speeds are up, so they catch up to where you're trying to take off. So you got to be really careful where you're taking off of Huntington because people could be coming from pretty far off, and you don't even see them sometimes. So you want to be real careful there. But nothing in the water today. Usually you see something. It's dolphins, seals, birds, ducks, whales. But today it was eventless. There was no other creatures that I saw. Now you know they're there. There's people in the water. I mean, there's animals in the water. There's all kinds of stuff in the water, but you don't normally see them because you're near the shallows and you're paying attention to what's happening on the surface. If you were to take some scuba gear and dive down under, you'd see stuff. But when it's really calm at Newport, last summer we went there. It was so small we couldn't surf it anywhere, so we took the paddle boards out, stand-up paddles, and we paddled out to the pier and around the jetties and stuff. And you could see schools of fish swimming by, and you could see the bottom, and you saw starfish. And my son said he saw a lobster. I didn't see the lobster, but he did. So you see all kinds of stuff. When the water's calm, it doesn't stir up all the sand and stuff, so the water's more clear. And so when you stand up paddle out there, you get to see a lot of things you wouldn't normally see. Because when you paddle in the bay, which is the other side of the peninsula there at Newport, in the Newport Bay, you don't see a lot there either for some reason. And I don't know if it's because there's so many boats in there and it's not the open sea. There are a lot of seals, and those seals will get in the back bay. They'll find a boat that has a platform or some kind of a flat surface, and they'll all pile on it. And sometimes you'll see 5 or 6 seals on the back of a boat almost ready to sink it. So a lot of people put different things to keep the seals off their boats. So it gets for them it gets to be quite annoying. For us it's just interesting to see because you paddle by them, they don't even move. They look at you like, "What's up?" And they don't care that you're paddling close to them. So that's stand-up paddling. It's another form of surfing in some cases. A lot of people do stand up out in the ocean and catch waves with the stand-up boards. They usually get ones that are smaller than the ones that we have. Ours are 11 foot, and there you stand up and you have a long paddle, and you paddle as you're standing up on the board, and it's a lot of fun to paddle around the back bay. We do it a lot during the summer, a little bit in the winter. It's pretty good. It's a good exercise because you're paddling and your core muscles inside your body are getting worked pretty good. And you can rent those boards anywhere along the coast there. You see rentals all over the place, and they're not very expensive. It's like $5 an hour or like $20 for the day. But you only need an hour to do it. You don't need all day. I mean, when we go, we find a little beach on the bay side, and we just park all of our stuff, and we take turns going out, and kids get on it, and people get on it, and we paddle all over the place. And it's fun, and it's a good event. But people that just want to do it, a quick hour around the bay, which is pretty strenuous. It's enough exercise that you'll be sore the next day. You can rent them for an hour and don't have to buy them. So stand-up's a good sport to do when the waves aren't happening, or if you have more time on your hands and you want to take a nice stroll through the bay. It's fun to see the houses and the boats and the sun and the wind. So stand-up's good. But getting back to the beach, the surf side, or the side with the waves, if you will, we first got there pretty foggy. Couldn't really see the pier all that much. Kind of a fuzzy-looking thing. And then as the sun comes out and starts to burn off the overcast, it starts to clear up, and by the time we were leaving, the sun was starting to come out and the sky was starting to turn blue. And that was at 9 o'clock, and that's when it starts to get more crowded because, like I said, people want to come when it's warm and not necessarily cloudy, because the water's cold, and cold water and no sun is different than cold water and a lot of sun. But soon we'll have some warmer weather, and as far as that goes, I'm going to be out of surf for a couple of days. I'm going to go inland, as we say, and visit some relatives. So we will be not in the surf for let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Wow, that's a drought for me. But sometimes that's okay. Sometimes my body needs a rest from all the injuries. Little injuries, not major injuries, but hopefully not as bad as the one we had couple weeks ago when I got hit in the head with a board. That was pretty major, and it could have been a lot worse. So pretty happy that I didn't have to go get stitches or miss too many days of surfing. But you gotta be careful. Things happen. So be careful out there, be courteous out there, And have fun at the beach. Summer's coming, so I'm going to be looking for you down here in Huntington Beach and Newport. So see you then. Thanks for listening, and check out our sponsors, Task Bullet, Merch Hero, and nappyclothing.com. If you can give them a look, that'd be awesome. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.